couldn't hear you. Sorry. Okay.
Honourable Leader of the President.
Mr. Speaker, like my colleague who sits on the Children in Care panel with me, I felt shock, anger, and profound sadness over what happened to Serenity as detailed in Paula Simon's column. On the panel, Serenity's case has been raised and each time immediately shut down by the chair under orders from the minister. Hiding the problems is no way to find a solution, Madam Speaker. To the Premier, will you instruct your Minister of Children's Services to allow questions related to Serenity's case to be asked and answered so we can work together to avoid a reoccurrence?
Here, here.
Madam Speaker, the member opposite knows that when he first proposed the committee, we sat down and we talked about the mandate of the committee. And it, of course, grew out of a collective concern, a collective shock about the tragedy of Serenity's circumstances and the need for all of us to work together on the solutions rather than trying to politicize and score political points and not make progress. And we desperately want to try and make progress, Madam Speaker. The member opposite knows that the matter is being investigated by the RCMP. The member opposite knows that the matter is being investigated internally. The member opposite knows that the matter was being investigated.
For supplementary.
That was a difficult refusal to hear, Madam Speaker. Serenity died not because established protocols are flawed, although they are, but because those protocols were not followed. In other words, one or more employees made a fatal error in judgment. Nobody wants a witch hunt, Madam Speaker, but I think it's important to ask the Premier how she thinks anything will change if we can't publicly examine what happened in the year up to Serenity's death. To the Premier, is the person or persons who made the errors in judgment contributing to Serenity's abuse and death still making judgments affecting children in care? And if so, why?
Question.
Madam Speaker, as I was in the process of saying, the notion that the member opposite wants us to simply look at what happened after Serenity's death is troubling. But in fact, if we're going to get to the fundamental issues that are going to solve this, we need to look at them holistically. We made a decision with respect to all the members of the committee to focus first on coming up with a better death review process, to get that done, and then to go into the larger considerations of the issues we need to manage, all of which would involve an opportunity to discuss about the details of not only Serenity's tragedy, but a lot of them. But Madam Speaker, we need to take time, do it carefully.
Speaker is standing.
Second supplementary.
Again, a refusal to say that the people that were responsible for Serenity are still not in charge of children. According to the column, child workers removed Serenity from a foster home where they were thriving and placed her with relatives who did not receive kinship care training. A woeful job was done on background checks on the adults living in the residence. All reports of potential mistreatment were not investigated, but that was given full legal custody. I know working with kids in care is tough, but in light of the irresponsible actions around Serenity's death, under your leadership, Premier, have there been or will there ever be any consequences at all for Serenity?
The RCMP have the file. They are investigating it. They are speaking with the Crown, and they will tell us what their recommendations are. It is not our job to direct the RCMP, nor is it our job to direct the Crown in terms of how they dispense with cases. But Madam Speaker, the member opposite needs to understand, I mean, this happened a year and a half before the last election, Madam Speaker. So the member opposite needs to understand that what we have to do together is fix the system and not focus on trying to score political points, Madam Speaker. And so that is what the committee is trying to do.